everybody, I'm Pia from Stitches and Scraps.
Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable lion fridge magnet. Lion Brand was kind enough to send me the DIY yarn for all the magnets in this crochet along. For the lion magnet, we're going to be using orange, yellow, and white, and just a little bit of black just for the facial embroidery. If you prefer, you can substitute black embroidery floss instead of the black yarn. You'll also need a hot glue gun and some glue. I'm using this mini hot glue gun that Xyron gave me for free to review. And finally, you'll need a small magnet that can fit inside your lion. This one is about 1 inch in diameter. You could go a little bit bigger, but you want to make sure that it is thin so that it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your project. Let's start with the back circle. Chain 2 or make a magic loop, and then in that magic loop or the second chain from your hook, work 6 single crochet. If you made a magic loop, pull on the tail to tighten it. Join your round with a slip stitch in the first stitch. For round 2, we're going to work an increase in every stitch. Rather than put 2 single crochet into exactly the same spot, we're going to work a slightly more invisible increase. So chain 1, and the first single crochet, put it in the back loop only of that first stitch. Now the second single crochet, put it in both loops of that first stitch, like a normal stitch. So now you still have 2 single crochet in your first stitch, but they're not in exactly the same place, so it makes it a little bit more invisible of an increase. We're going to continue doing that all the way around. So single crochet in the back loop only, and then single crochet in both loops. Back loop only, and then both loops. Now join with a slip stitch in the first stitch to finish the round. So for round 1 we had 6 single crochets, and we've increased in every stitch, so on round 2 we have 12. Now for round 3 we're going to increase in every alternate stitch, so we're going to add another 6 stitches and bring this up to 18. So chain 1, we're going to increase in the first stitch, so that means single crochet in the back loop only, and then single crochet in both loops. And then we're going to work a regular single crochet in the next stitch. And we're going to keep alternating like that. So back loop only, both loops, and regular single crochet. And keep that pattern going all the way around. Join with a slip stitch to finish the round. Now on round 4, we're going to go up to 24 stitches, so that's another extra 6 stitches. So we're going to increase and then 2 regular single crochets. Increase, 2 regular single crochets. So chain 1, the increase is back loop only, and then both loops, and then 2 regular single crochets. 1, 2. Okay, back loop only, both loops, and then 2 regular single crochets, and we do that all the way around. And join with a slip stitch. And that's round 4. Now let's do the ears. This is the back piece of our magnet. So the right side of this piece is going to show on the back of our magnet. The wrong side of this piece is going to be towards the front. This is where the magnet's going to go, and then the front will be placed on top. So that means that this, whatever sticks out here, is going to show towards the front on this wrong side of this piece. So that's why we want the ears to be on the wrong side. So we finished row 4 here. We're going to turn around to the wrong side and then chain 1 to start the ears row. Now the ears aren't the only thing we're going to be putting into these stitches. I need to leave some room for the mane as well. So I'm only going to work the ears into the front loops only, and that's going to leave these back loops available for the mane. So let's work an ear. We're going to put a whole bunch of stitches into just this one front loop of just this one stitch. So I've chained 1, now start with a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then a double crochet, then a half double, and then a single. So we just went up and then down, and that gives us this nice rounded ear. So now we need to get across to where we want the other ear. So again, just using the back loops only, or sorry, the front loops only, I'm going to slip stitch all the way across. I'm leaving these back loops for the main. So I'm slip stitching into 3 stitches here. Okay, and that has left these 3 back loops that can be used for the main. Now in this next stitch, again, just in the front loop only, I'm going to make another ear. So slip stitch to get into that stitch, right? Chain 1, and then single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, and single crochet. So again, it goes single, half double, double, half double, single. It goes up and then down. And those are our 2 ears. For the main, we need to change to orange. So continuing where we left off with the ears, I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch with the orange yarn. Give the yellow tail a little tug to snug it up, and we're ready to go with the main. The main is a series of chain 5 loops. So in each stitch, I'm going to slip stitch, chain 5, and then slip stitch again to lock that loop down. So I've already joined this with a slip stitch. I'm already here, so let's go ahead and do the chain 5. And I'm locking this tail in. You don't have to do that, but I find that that helps me with my tension. So 2, 3, 4, 5 chains, right? Then I'm going to slip stitch in this exact same stitch, right where I was before. Really I am. There we go. Okay, that's a chain 5 loop in 1 stitch. Okay, I'm going to keep doing that all the way around. So slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 5, and slip stitch again. And the way this is written is slip stitch, chain 5, slip stitch in the next stitch, right? So slip stitch, chain 5, slip stitch. And it should get a little ruffly and spiky as we go all the way around, just like a main. Okay, I've made it all the way around to the ear, and now remember we had 24 stitches on this row, correct? And the ears each took up 1, and then there were 3 in between, so that's 5 stitches. That means that there's 19 other stitches that I've just worked these little chain loops into. You're going to notice some ruffling. Don't worry. Once we sew the front and the back together, all that ruffling will end up in the main and not in the center portion. So now let's work the main behind the ears. Remember that we worked these ears in the front loop only so that we could work behind them. So go ahead and fold them down and you'll see those back loops right behind them. So now continue working your main into just these back loops. So that's slip stitch, chain 5, slip stitch in each of these 5 stitches back here. That's the stitches with the ears and the stitches in between them. And that's the end of the main. Now we can cut the tails. You want to leave that nice long yellow tail for sewing, and then the orange tails you can just cut to a normal length. And fasten off. Now we're going to weave in all of these 3 tails, but not the big long one. Okay, I'm going to weave those in, and remember this is going to be inside the magnet. This is where the magnet goes, so I'm actually going to weave the tails in over here. I'll bring them through and weave them in over here where they won't show. I finished weaving in the tails, and now it's time to glue on the magnet. So I take my glue gun and I just put a little dollop of glue all the way around the magnet here. Okay, get it nice and covered. And quickly, before it dries, stick that down in the center. And now the magnet is attached. We're done with this back piece for now, so we can set it aside and move on to the front. The first 4 rounds of the front are identical to the first 4 rounds of the back until we get to the joining at the end of round 4. So I've worked all of rounds 1 through 4 right up until joining. If you want to see how that's worked, go back to the beginning of the video and it's exactly the same as the back circle was. So Now I'm at the end of round 4. The difference here is when I join, we're going to go straight into the mane. There's no ears, so I'm actually going to change colors in this join here. So I grab my orange and I just work the slip stitch with orange instead of with yellow. And that's the only difference there. Now I can cut this yellow tail. Get that out of the way, and let's go on to make the mane. Now I want the mane to look layered, right? I don't want it to just completely cover up the mane in the back. So instead of doing chain 5s, for the front we're going to do chain 3s. So we've already slip stitched, so chain 3, okay, and slip stitch in the same stitch. So this is going to make a smaller ruffle than the back one did. Now slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch in the same stitch. So in the next stitch, slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around for the front mane. Okay, I've gone all the way around, and now there's this little yellow line that's bothering me right at the end of the round because it's going to show because we're on the front, right? So I'm actually going to go ahead and slip stitch right into that first stitch again to cover up that little line and make a seamless finish. And then we can go ahead and fasten off. And we can weave in all of the tails on our front circle, set that aside, and work on making the face. We're going to need 3 separate pieces for the face, the muzzle and 2 eyes. So let's go ahead and make the muzzle first. Chain 2 or make a magic loop. And then in that second chain from the hook or in the magic loop, we're going to do a single crochet, 3 double crochets, okay, that's one side of the muzzle, and then a single crochet and 3 double crochets. And then we slip stitch back into that first single crochet. Okay, go ahead and pull on your tail if you made a magic circle to tighten that, and there is our muzzle. When you fasten it off, leave enough of a tail to sew it in place onto the front circle. Now let's do the eyes. Go ahead and chain 2 or make a magic circle. Now in that second chain or the magic circle, we're going to do 2 single crochets, okay, then a slip stitch, then 2 more single crochets, and then another slip stitch. Fasten that off. Remember to leave enough of a tail to sew it on with. You can actually leave a long tail on just one of the eyes and then use that to sew both eyes on. And then if you made a magic circle, go ahead and pull that tight to close it. And now we have an oval looking eye, and we need 1 more, and there we have our 2 eyes. Now let's put the face pieces together. Grab your front piece and the eye that has the long tail. I find it easiest to place the eyes first and then the muzzle, but you can certainly do it the other way around if you prefer. And we're going to place the eye just above the center of the front circle. I'm going to take this tail straight on through to the back. This is the long tail that we left for sewing the eyes on. And I'm also going to bring this other tail to the back underneath the eye just to get it out of the way. So let's come in here and just pull that down onto the wrong side, just so it's not in our way. Now, where the eye is around the circle doesn't matter, but you want to make sure, because it's kind of an oval shape, right? You want to make sure that it's straight up and down, perpendicular to the center here. So I don't want to turn it sideways like that. I want to make sure that it is coming in like that. Okay, and once I have it positioned right, straight up and down, I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around it with a back stitch. Okay, that is the first eye. Now I take this same thread and I'm going to just cross it over to the other eye to sew that in place. So I position it similarly, and I'm still going to pull the tails down through. So I'm going to put this right here, right? And then I'm going to pull the tails down through to the back to get them out of our way. Okay, so that is the position I want for that eye, centered around the center of the front. Grab this tail and start working around this eye. Okay, there are my two eyes. Now we can sew the muzzle on in a similar way. Notice that it has round edges and a flat section in the center. So we want to have the bubbly bits on the side. So put it in there like that so that it's got almost like a flat center with two little balls on the side. And use that tail to sew that one in. I have finished sewing on the eyes and the muzzle, and I've woven in all the ends and then also woven in a piece of black yarn about 18 to 24 inches long to sew the facial features. So first let's do the eyes. The lion is a cat, so I want a vertical eye, and I want quite a big one. I want it to come all the way from here and down to here. And then to make it kind of oval, I'm going to just keep doing that same exact stitch maybe 3 or 4 times until it gets a little bit fatter. Actually, 2 might be enough, but I'm going to go 3. Okay, that's one eye. Now let's do the other one. Same way. Okay, then I'm going to come over and do the nose, and I'm putting the nose right on top of the center of this muzzle at the top here. So I'm going to come in right here. Actually, I'm going to come in. I want it to cover up the white on the muzzle. So right here. Whoop, don't pull too tight. And then I'm just going to do a horizontal stitch across to here and repeat that a few times to get a nice thick nose, probably 4 times or 5 times for the nose. That's 3. 4, and 1 more. Gets a little tough with all the ends and everything to get it in the exact same spot every time, but there is 5, and I think that's a good size nose. Now for the mouth, I'm going to start in the center here, right in the center of that muzzle, and come up under the nose to make that vertical line. Okay, and then I'm going to do V shapes on each side. So I'm going to come here. Well, let's come back to the center. Back to the center. and go down here. Okay. And then up here and back down here. So I've got a little V shape on that side, right? Back up into the center. Okay, down here. And is that too far? That's too far. I want to make it look exactly like the other side. So the other side went in there, so I want to go in here, I think. Right there. There we go. And up here. And there we go. Now I can weave this tail in. And that is our lion's face. Now we just have to put the back and front together. Arrange them so that the face is showing and the ears are sandwiched between the two layers of mane. So you can see there's mane at the back, there's mane at the front, okay? And line up the yellow circles. We're going to sew right around the edge of those yellow circles, but make sure your eyes are lined up with the ears and everything looks all perfectly aligned before you start sewing. Okay, bring this down or up, either way, so that it comes out. Yeah, bring it up so that it comes out on one side or the other. And now we're going to sew a back stitch just around the edge of these stitches. So just below the mane, right around the yellow. That'll give us a nice little edge as well. And I'm doing a back stitch, so I'm actually going to go this way. And you want to check that you're getting yellow to yellow, you know, that you're aligned properly, at least for the first few stitches, until it's pretty well secured. So you go forward 2 stitches and then back 1. Now when you get to this chin area here, under the muzzle, be sure not to pick up any of the white threads from the muzzle. Make sure you're going underneath the muzzle and just into the yellow portion. Okay, my tail is not long enough. I still have several stitches left to do and only this tiny little bit of tail. So that's okay. What I'm going to do is bring the tail into the center, weave it in as well as I can into this area here in the middle, trim it off, and start another tail in that same space. Okay, and then I can finish sewing this close, so I want to bring this back out where I left off, which was right there, and continue with my back stitch. And I'm back to where I started, so that's all finished. Now I'm going to come around to the back here, and if you want to neaten these stitches up a little bit, you can, just by kind of whip stitching around them, just like this, to make kind of a nice little ropey edge. But again, this is the back. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to care. So, you know, it's up to you how much you want to make it look neat. Okay, when you finish doing that, if you're going to do it, go ahead and weave in your end. And your lion is done. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, or leave me a comment. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great videos. Thanks for watching.